Starting off at number 10 now, we have the Grunch. This one comes from Louisiana. In the early days of New Orleans, there was a road called Grunch Road that went deep into the swampy woods before coming to a dead end. That is where the Grunch people lived, a strange hybrid of albinos and dwarves, forced away from society and made to live in their own community. As the years went by, people started to doubt the story's authenticity, but it sparked up again when people started disappearing down Grunch Road. Nearby farmers reported their animals missing or finding them dead and drained of blood. Many locals now refuse to head down Grunch Road for fear of meeting the same fate. Moving on to number 9 now, we have Stull Cemetery. To those that know the story, Stull Cemetery in Kansas is better known as the doorway to hell. Legend says that the devil himself chose the cemetery as his entrance from the underworld to our own. Now it's said that a tree once stood in the cemetery and an old tombstone there was inscribed with the word witch. The tree was used to hang condemned witches back in the day who were put to death by the locals. The tombstone apparently marks the burial spot of Satan's own child, a creature born deformed and covered in wolf hair. In modern times, the legend has continued with reports of the ground catching fire in random spots. Pope John Paul II was said to divert his private plane around the cemetery because it was so tainted by evil. Now whether or not you believe all of that, there's plenty of videos on YouTube to check out if you're interested, and I find them quite creepy. Moving on to number 8 now, we have Knock Knock Road. This one is for all of you guys watching that get very creeped out by little girl ghosts. I think they're the worst kind of ghost. Strasburg Road near Detroit has a disturbing tale of murder attached to it. Legend says that a little girl was killed on the road in the 1940s by a hit and run driver. Ever since then, people have reported the same story. They stop at a traffic light and see on the side of the road a young girl standing, just standing and staring right into your car. Whether they freeze or then try to speak to her, she slowly walks forward to the car and stares at you with deep set hollow eyes. She scans your face to try and find her killer and get her revenge. I guess you better hope you just don't look like the killer. At number 7 now, we have the Charman. This story goes that in 1948 a wildfire swept across Ojai, California. The flames consumed a cabin where a man lived with his son. He was burned alive, but the son survived, just barely though. When the authorities arrived, they found a shocking scene. The father had been flayed alive. His skin had been removed from his body and peeled off. His body was just hanging from a nearby tree. The police then searched for the perpetrator. They heard a wheezing sound from a nearby bush, and then suddenly the son just bolted out of it. The overpowering smell of him stunned the officers, and in that moment the boy ran into the trees and then escaped into the hills. In the years since then, many locals have said they've seen the Charman in the woods, horribly disfigured by his burns and tormented by his past. He's said to creep up on the tents of innocent campers in the hills, waiting for them to fall asleep. Coming at number 6 now, we have Hell's Gate Bridge. This one comes from Oxford, Alabama. The story goes that in the 1950s, a young couple crashed their car off the side of this bridge and drowned. Now, some locals believe you cross the bridge at your own peril. One story is that if you drive your car out to the middle of the bridge and then turn off all the lights, the couple will appear in your car just sitting behind you. When you turn around, they'll be gone, leaving a wet seat behind. The other story is that if you drive over the bridge and then look over your shoulder about halfway through, the scenery behind you turns into a portal to hell, just spouting fire and flames. Now whether or not you believe all of this, it's enough for some people to just look for a different way to cross the river. Moving on to number 5 now, we have 100 Steps Cemetery. This is located in the town of Brazil in Indiana. Interesting name for a town, and the cemetery is even more interesting. It's been used for at least 150 years, and in that time it's gained quite a sinister reputation for a ghostly undertaker. The story goes that as you walk up the many steps to the top of the cemetery, you must count each and every step. When you reach the top, you must turn towards the open field, and then the ghost of the cemetery's first undertaker will appear. Without saying anything, he will then reveal your own death to you in a vision. Straight away, you must proceed back down the steps and count each one again. If the number is different to the one that you counted on the way up, the vision was true. An added bonus is that if anyone tries to cheat and climb up or down without using the steps, a ghostly hand will push them to the ground, leaving a red imprint on their back for days as a mark of the devil. Definitely not a place to go for just a Sunday walk then. Next up at number 4 now, we have the Goat Man of Pope Lick. I love my job because I get to say sentences like that. This is an old Kentucky urban legend about a hideous being who roams the woods across that state. Those who have seen him describe the Goat Man as having dark fur, pale skin, goat legs and twisted horns. Some people say he was an escaped circus freak, others say he was a farmer who tortured goats for Satan. Satan then repaid him by turning him into to a tortured goat himself. The goat man is said to hide under the rusty bridge that crosses Pope Lick Creek in Louisville. Legend says he lures people onto the train tracks there and then takes pleasure in them being hit by oncoming trains. Please don't go looking for this one though, guys. In 2016, a woman actually fell to her death from the bridge while looking for the goat man. At number 3 now, we have Slaughterhouse Canyon. With a name like that, you know it's not going to be a pretty story. During the 1800s gold rush, a family lived in the canyon there in a little wooden shack. Every day was the same. The husband would set off into the mountains to search for gold and food for his family. Then, one day, he just didn't come back, presumably injured or killed by animals, the mountain, or even other humans. His wife waited for her husband for weeks until the whole family began to starve. Driven mad with the hunger and her children's cries, she put on her wedding dress, picked up a knife, and murdered her children, throwing them into the river and then weeping until starvation killed her too. Legend says that if you visit the canyon today, you can still hear the mother's painful cries. Alright, next up at number 2 now, we have the Black Angel. This statue looks very creepy as it is. An old, worn, corroded angel staring down over Oakland Cemetery in Iowa City. Her sinister appearance has helped spawn a number of different legends around her. One of them says that a pregnant woman should never walk under her lest they want to lose their unborn child. Another says that if you kiss or perhaps even just touch the statue, you'll be dead within 6 months. This is the kind of story that scares everyone off. Whether or not you believe in curses, it's just not even worth thinking about. And finally, number 1 now, we have Cropsey. Many New Yorkers know the story of Cropsey, the boogeyman of Staten Island. Legend says that he was an escaped patient from a mental asylum who went on a murderous rampage. He had a hook for a hand, which he would then use to drag children back to the abandoned ruins of Seaview Hospital. Pretty creepy stuff, but here's where it gets really scary. Many parents would tell this story to their kids to scare them into being cautious about strangers, even if they didn't really believe the story themselves. But then in the 1970s, a real killer called Andre Rand really did start hunting children in a very similar way. Was he using the Cropsey legend as cover? Either way, people now take the legend a lot more seriously.
Starting us off, in at number 10, we have the Alaska Triangle. The Alaska Triangle covers an area ranging from Juneau in the southeast to the northern Barrow region all the way over to Anchorage. This is an area that apparently craves souls, and more than 20,000 people have gone missing without a trace in this region. So what's the explanation for this? Some people believe that a mythical creature is roaming in this area and he likes to feast on human flesh, while others believe that this area causes you to become confused and disoriented, so you're not able to find your way home. The most famous disappearance was back in October 1972 when an airplane that was carrying some pretty important political leaders suddenly disappeared. This led to one of the largest manhunts in Alaska's history. It lasted 39 days and it involved 400 aircrafts, 12 US Coast Guard vessels as well. But nothing was ever found. Even to this day, this remains as one of the biggest mysteries in Alaska. And you know what? Note to self, never visit the Alaska Triangle, because it's just as scary as the Bermuda Triangle. Why is everything in triangles? Charman heats things up in at number 9. Charman has a pretty gruesome backstory. This urban legend is about a father and a son who were both caught in a house fire and they suffered from horrible burns in 1948. After the fire, the son became so mentally unstable, which caused him to stab and hang his father to death. When the police finally found the son, he was so burnt that they weren't even able to tell if he was alive. So he was able to run away before they can arrest him for the brutal murder. Ever since that night, the chairman can still be seen wandering around the woods that surround Ojai, and that's located in California. Rumor has it that he will approach tents and torment campers. He will also attack anyone that goes in his way, and it's unclear on how many people he's actually killed. So be on the lookout if you are in Ojai, California for the chairman. Let's head over to the Beast of Bladenboro over in North Carolina, and this brings us in at number 8. This terrifying creature looks like a panther, but he is a bloodthirsty killer who lurks in the darkness, and that's because he's looking for his next meal. He is known to attack dogs and even people, so watch your back if Yeah, we're not in North Carolina now, I don't have to worry here, but if you're in North Carolina, watch yourselves. People have claimed to see this beast say that he's about 3 feet long, 20 inches high, and has a long tail with a cat's face. Others say that his scream sounds like a woman being stabbed with a knife. According to the local reports, animals in the area have died mysteriously, and all of their blood was drained from their bodies. Some of them were mutilated, and some of them were even found with broken bones or completely flattened. So is this just an urban legend, or does the beast of Blantonboro actually exist? I'm really hoping that he doesn't. Moving in at number 7, we're talking about the chupacabra. His name literally means goat sucker, and I think this is a real thing. This creepy animal is said to roam through Mexico, southwest USA, and Puerto Rico. The chupacabra is blamed for killing livestock and terrorizing people. They look like a hairless bear, and sometimes they can be seen with spikes on their backs. I just hope this guy doesn't get thirst for human blood, because if that was the case, we'd all be in a lot of trouble. I'd probably never leave my house. Even though he's only an urban legend, I would still be afraid. I mean, just look at this thing. This is what nightmares are made of. The creepy clown statue scares us in at number 6. Not everyone loves clowns. Actually, a lot of people are deathly terrified of them, and this urban legend is no exception. This story actually originated from a chain letter that was being circulated in 2006, and the story goes like this. One night a couple went out to dinner and called the babysitter to watch their kids. When the babysitter arrived, the kids were already fast asleep in their beds, so she just hung out downstairs for a couple of hours until the parents called. She said that the kids are fine, but would it be alright if she put a blanket on a clown statue that was in the room because it made her nervous. The phone went silent for a moment, and the mom replied with, "We don't have a clown statue. Grab the kids and get out of there as fast as you can." And at the bottom of the chain letter it says, "If you don't repost this letter to 10 people within the next 5 minutes, the clown will be standing next to your bed at 3 a.m. and he's gonna be there with a knife." I mean, I've already passed this letter on to you guys, so now it's your turn to pass it on to 10 more people. Riverdale Road drives onto this list at number 5. This creepy road is located near Thornton, Colorado, and it is full of horrifying urban legends. From a ghost who attacks parked cars, crazy demons, and a phantom car, this road has it all. But probably the most terrifying story about Riverdale Road has to be about the gates of hell. If you're brave enough to drive along this road, you will see some pretty rusty gates, but legends has it that these gates are actually a portal to hell. It's no wonder why so much demonic activity is reported here. But the fun doesn't stop there. You'll also see a bloody handprint suddenly appear on road signs. You can see ghosts hanging from trees, and if you're unlucky, you might even see some shapeshifters who are out there to kill you. The dog boy barks onto this list at number 4. This urban legend takes us all the way over to a small town in Arkansas. Apparently there is a 300-pound half-man, half-beast creature that has glowing red eyes who is known to bite at people's heels and chase them down the street. Sounds like someone needs to call the Humane Society. This urban legend originated from an even darker story. The dog boy was based off of a problem kid who used to enjoy torturing animals. Eventually he graduated from animals and he began to torture his own parents. He even locked them up in the basement where he can severely injure them on a daily basis. So that's how the dog boy urban legend came to be known. But this is actually a true story, which makes it 100% worse. Diving in at number 3, let's talk about Hell's Gate Bridge. A young couple was driving over this bridge, but they somehow managed to swerve their car off of the bridge. This happened during the nighttime and they ended up drowning. So now there are 2 legends associated with Hell's Gate Bridge. The first one is, if you drive your car in the middle of the bridge and turn off the lights, the couple will magically appear in the back seat and leave a wet spot. And the second urban legend states that if you drive over the bridge and you look over your shoulder halfway across, you will see a portal to hell engulfed in flames. So make sure you guys don't put your car in reverse because you might not be making it out there alive. The Wendigo dropped onto our list at number 2. Well, he's a terrifying creature who has an irresistible hunger for human flesh. This beast has to consume human flesh in order to survive the cold winters in North America. And no matter how much flesh they eat, they will always be hungry for more. They supposedly measure in at about 15 feet tall, have glowing eyes, yellowish skin that looks like it's decaying. Legend has it that the Wendigos used to be humans, but they are formed whenever humans consume the flesh of another human being. So if you don't want to become a Wendigo yourselves, then you should probably take human flesh off of your menu. I think we should name the Wendigo to Hannibal Lecter. It's just fitting. Cropsy terrifies us in at number 1. If you live around Staten Island, then you probably recognize this name. Cropsy is rumored to be a homicidal lunatic who escaped from a mental institution. He apparently has a hook for a hand that he uses to hunt children and drag them back to an underground tunnel system. Parents used to tell their children that Cropsy is around the area, so they're better off staying close to home. Because for all they know, Cropsy could be anywhere and he could wait at any moment to claim his next victim. But then, things took a turn for the worse when Cropsy became more than an urban legend. Children around Staten Island actually started to disappear for real, and that's because there was an actual homicidal madman who really did hunt children. His name was Andre Rand, and Staten Island was never the same since.
Coming in number 10, we have Men in Black. I mean, where do you think the idea of the smash hit comedy starring Will Smith came from? You thought it was an original idea?
Yo, I thought it was an original idea. I thought Will Smith is a genius.
No way, man.
Well, let's be honest, nothing is original anymore. As Picasso said, a good artist creates things, a great artist steals everything.
I'm pretty sure that he actually stole that line too. Well, the urban legend of the Men in Black is pretty in line with the movie. I don't think it's as fantastical or as heroic, but the idea is that there are secret government agents all throughout the US who will come find you if you have any sort of contact with extraterrestrials.
They monitor the planet and it's up to them to make sure that they don't learn about aliens.
There have been many reports from people saying that they've seen some strange thing in the sky or that something landed in their backyard and then it takes off, and then the next day a couple dudes in black suits come in who present themselves as FBI agents, and they'll come to their house and ask them some very strange questions. And even in some cases they can be threatened or things could get quite ugly.
Well, threats from strange dudes in a black suit, yeah, that would work well for me. I'm threatened by anything. I'll keep all my alien secrets to myself after something like that. Thank you very much. If I see something in my backyard, I'm reporting it to nobody.
And guys, make sure you hit that like button because it really helps us out.
Alright, let's move right along. Number 9, we have the Hookman.
Hush now. No more screaming, no more running. It's time to die.
The Hookman is such a famous urban legend. Not one, but 2 movies were made about this urban legend. Coming in number 8, we have skinwalkers. This is one of the oldest Native American legends, and the legend has stretched into our folklore as we see skinwalkers represented in television and movies all the time.
The true form of a skinwalker is unknown. I mean, Che right here could be a skinwalker right now. We don't know his true form. Well, some people say that they start off as humans, and then they get the ability to transform, and others say they are truly beasts who can turn into humans and other creatures to try to fool us.
But at the end of the day, does it really matter what the true form of a shapeshifter is? They can become whatever they want. You think after being a certain form for a while, you forget what it's like to be your true self. It would be like method acting when you get too into a role and you can't remember who you really are.
Well, maybe Daniel Day-Lewis is a skinwalker and he's just not as evil as the rest.
Skinwalkers have been known to use their powers of transformation to lure people into traps and kill them. Sometimes it's said that they can use parts of dead humans as food, and other stories tell of them needing human parts for rituals to continue their shape-shifting ways.
And at number 7, the abominable snowman.
Abominable snowman sighting in Spain caught on camera. That's right, folks. The proof the world has been waiting for has finally been uploaded. A Sasquatch, or Yeti, or abominable snowman, or just plain old Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him, has been spotted, supposedly.
There are so many clips just like the one you just saw on YouTube. You can check it out for yourselves. Well, we think that this is the best footage we've ever seen of this thing.
Coming in at number 6, we have the Bunny Man. There are several different stories of the Bunny Man, and almost all of them are gruesome. The most common is that he's a man who will walk through dark alleys or in the forest or anywhere with poor visibility, and he will follow people. He sports a bunny mask and has a massive axe. In the shadows, he creeps slowly, watches his prey, and waiting for the moment when they aren't protected. In those few moments when their guard is lowered, he will spring out and slam his axe into their face, taking their body back into the darkness. There have been some iterations of the Bunny Man that say he doesn't wear a mask, but his face has been horribly mutilated to make it look as if it was a bunny's. Skin has been grafted grafted onto his head to resemble ears, surgery done on his nose and lips to reveal buck teeth and a rabbit-like nose, and disgusting scarring all over his once human image. This disfiguration that happened to him is what caused him to go mad.
Moving right along, just like that, number 5, Mothman.
Hey, is it possible the famous Mothman of West Virginia could be a mysterious giant eagle? Or is it still just a big, mysterious unknown?
The Mothman of West Virginia has been a long-time urban legend dating back to the 60s, and there has been several movies and documentaries based on this creature, along with a ton of real people recounting their experiences and sharing their pictures and videos. It's such a crazy urban legend that, you know what, it might be true after all.
The sightings of Mothman continued for months throughout the Point Pleasant area. The Mothman was once seen again on the Silver Bridge, and many people believe that the creature was trying to warn people.
And at number 4, we have Baby Train. Well, let's step away from the horrifying urban legends for a second to think about something that could be true and has been a tale told all over America.
Even though the baby train sounds like something where people would sell babies to the highest bidder, this urban legend is much more wholesome.
Now, this urban legend is attached to a more forgotten time, which makes it both hard to prove and disprove.
But it's the idea of small towns that were positioned close to train stations.
These towns were so close that when the trains came in and blew its steam whistle, everyone could hear.
Now, for some of these places, they would have an early morning train come through town. If it would blow its whistle around 5 a.m., this would wake up the whole town. For most of these fine folks, 5 a.m. was too early to get up, but too late to go back to sleep.
So all of these people waking up next to their partner decided to just make a little hanky-panky.
This was a time before we had phones and Netflix. There was nothing else to do.
So this idea of this urban legend is that the towns that had the baby train would see a baby boom from all of the early morning, whoopies.
These people are reproducing faster than Joey Chestnut clears a plate of food.
Moving into number 3, we have the New Jersey Devil. Have you guys heard of this?
Claiming that this child would be the devil. When the night came that Jane went into labor, there was a terrible storm that shook the entire house as her friends and family gathered to help her through the pregnancy. The child was born normal, but it began to change into a deformed monstrosity. Its feet turned into hooves, its head resembled a goat. Leathery wings sprouted from its back, and a forked tail whipped violently around the room. The child screamed and thrashed its tail at anyone trying to hold it down.
This is a crazy tale that might actually just be true, considering the NHL team is named the New Jersey Devils. Could this be because of this urban legend?
Rumor has it a woman had her 13th baby and said, "Let the child be the devil."
Although they tried to exorcise it, shoot it, and kill it, it was deemed indestructible. And there have been 13 sightings of this creature throughout history, so it's gotta be true. 13 people have seen it.
Coming in number 2, we have Charman. We get a couple sweet points in a row, and that's the only nice ones you're gonna get.
For a second I thought you were gonna say Charmander, because I was like, that's real. Pokemon are real.
They are.
But in this situation, we're talking about Charman, which isn't Charmander. Well, Charman is one of the most horrifying urban legends to come out of America. It combines some classic tales with some very specific details that make it seem like the whole thing could be true.
The story starts back in 1948. There was a house fire. A father and his son tried to escape unharmed, but the flames are too strong, and the two of them are burned all over their body. While waiting for help to arrive, the son is looking at his disfigured self and loses his mind. He then kills his own father.
Is this real life right now? When help eventually does arrive, the son lays on the ground and the police think that the boy, well, he's dead from how badly he's burnt. They leave for a moment and uses this as an opportunity to escape.
From this point, he has to live in the woods, hunting down people and killing them, taking what he can so he can continue to survive in the wilderness and feed his insane bloodlust without anyone finding him. And coming in the number 1 spot, we have the Boggy Creek Monster, aka Bigfoot, aka the Southern Sasquatch.
In the early 1970s, the media had a field day about a creature known as the Boggy Creek Monster, aka the Southern Sasquatch. The Boggy Creek Monster was being reported on in the news because it was accused of attacking a local family, as well as destroying and stalking livestock.
This one tops our list because this might be the most famous urban legend creature that might be real of all time.
Have you spotted one before?
A Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Real life?
Yeah.
No. Have you?
No. I wanted the anticipation to be like, oh, has he? No.
And it was like, absolutely.
I've never seen it.
No.
Well, there's been 5 feature films that have been made about this specific folklore, urban legend, and countless other documentaries exist as well.
The whole town has even turned this guy into a tourist attraction in the surrounding town.